You are on to the stables of Television Nigerian, reaching you live from our hilltop studios in Guzape, Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. It's the 25th day of January 2021, and I hope you had a lovely weekend and you are ready to take on the week-long activities wherever you find yourself today. It is Press Talk, that platform where we'll talk about topical issues, especially as represented in the dailies across Nigeria, and of course not forgetting issues happening on the global community. I am Charles Ibe, and with me today is Daniel Atai.
Thanks for having me,
Yeah,
Mr. Charles.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, a whole lot of issues happened over the weekend, but prominent among them is the headsman, Ondo State, Iboho, a new name that is actually trending right now, Sunday Iboho and all of that, quit order, and you find out, even in the dailies today, the stories dominate everywhere. People are talking about insecurity. There's so much insecurity. Is it kind of a concern to you?
Yes, it's a serious concern, not only to me, but to Nigerians, and I think to the government too, to the government across the 36 states and the federal government. It should be a concern because the primary duty of any responsive government like we have is the security of lives and properties, and it is one of the fundamental issue in our constitution. So it's a concern to all of us.
And I'm sure the government is they are on top of their game. Or are they not?
Yeah, of course the government will always tell you that they're on top of their games. On two occasions, the FG has issued statements, first against religious crisis, and to warn people who are likely to use their statements to incite crisis. Then secondly, on the Oyo issue, the government also issued caution to the government of Oyo State, and not only to the government of Oyo State. I also told the Inspector General of Police to take proactive measures, and southwestern governors to meet in order to quell the situation, the red alert that seems to be across the states, across the region.
Yeah,
too.
it's all right. Now, we are going to go to details on what the papers are talking, especially about this red alert and the insecurity situation. But before we get to look at the dailies, let's also look at what is happening today. I mean, we all know what is happening today, or maybe for those who do not know, the All Progressive Congress today are starting their party registration and should I say deregistration of members?
Registration and revalidation.
Revalidation, okay,
of membership.
Membership across the. So why should it be? Why should anybody be excited about APC registering members?
Well, the membership, you can see, people tend to cling to a ruling power, ruling political party, and so far at the federal level in the country right now, the ruling power, the ruling political party is APC. And don't forget, you cannot make any meaningful progress or participate in nation building without first being a member of a political party. You must have a platform, which is one of the institutions of democracy constituted to pilot in the affairs of voting and be voted for. You have to aspire through a political party, participate in the activities. So, the APC came on board with manifestos and blueprints that seems enticing. And
that's when they came in 2015.
When they came in 2015, when they ripped power from the People's Democratic Party after the 20 years of the former on the seat of governance in the country at large. The APC felt the PDP hasn't done enough in terms of emancipating Nigerians from the quagmires of underdevelopment, especially with regards to infrastructural development and social amenities, which up to now the basic is still lacking. Having that kind of blueprint it is normal for people to buy into their manifesto, become members of the party, get registered. And the APC again hope that maybe perhaps more people will join, like I think the man in charge of the committee for this sensitization is Yaya Bello, the governor of Kogi State. And we also know that the caretaker committee chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Governor Boni of Yobe State, I've also given them the go-ahead to have new registration for people who intend to join, and the target is about 60 million.
Okay. Now, today they are setting up committees, starting from today, and then by the 27th, the 7-man state committees are supposed to start their processes, and the whole thing is supposed to, kick off February 2nd and end around maybe 27th of February. Or thereabouts. But then the issue is this. You mentioned about party manifesto, APC coming up with manifestos and all of that. 5 years now of APC. Would you say the manifestos have been so enticing, so wonderful to the Nigerian people that everybody wants to troop to APC? Or is it just about, let's just belong to the party that is that is in the center, so that we are ensured that we are cutting cakes whenever there are cakes to cut?
Well, I will not score the All Progressive Congress 100% in terms of development, industrialization, social amenities, and what have you, general governance in general. But then, yes, they have improved in certain areas. They have improved in certain areas, especially trying to standardize the economy. It was a difficult one during their inception that they met almost a comatose state of the nation, and a default treasury, which was on red alert. The revamp was a kind of magical, I will not say magical, but to me, it is still because of a political will of the current administration to pursue the fact that we must be dependent on our economy.
Exactly.
So the introduction of the TCA, Treasury Single Account from Jonathan era, the registration and revalidation of bank verification numbers through the TCA, the monitoring, the sagacity of the EFCC, and all these things played a vital role, especially the economic revamp and the growth plan and of the economic team of Mr. President, the national planning and strategies economic team of Mr. President. They tried, but you know, like Nigerians that we are, because we have not truly been emancipated from the basic amenities, we will always want more.
Exactly.
But strategically, things are being done on the ground if compared to the 20 years of PDP. Okay, however, the PDP are also trying to say that they have seen their errors, their lapses, and they are trying to come back also to wreak power from the APC. So the competition should be that way, it should be heady. But the witch hunting aspect of this competition between political parties is not heady for nation building.
Okay, there should be the kind of checks and balances.
Yes,
shouldn't be such that heats up the politics.
Yes, especially
or create divides.
Create animosity, create acrimonies, create political tensions, create insecurities.
But it appears to be the norm in the African democracy.
But it is wrong. The fact that it has become a kind of endemic in the African polity doesn't make it right. You understand? So at the media level, and those of us who would want to set agenda for the government, and the people who pilot the affairs of the government, who would want them to imbibe on decent democratic etiquette.
Especially when it comes to opposition politics.
When it comes to opposition politics, the opposition must be there, yes, but the opposition must be seen to be vibrant. And how do I make this statement?
I mean, there should be issue-based opposition.
They should bring superior arguments, compared to the antecedents they had, You understand?
They're trying to pay back APC in their own country. APC was once an opposition and they were fighting dirty.
APC,
so
yes. But you must fight with antecedents, with records, in comparison, just opposing the two.
Yeah.
That is how to make the ruling power or the ruling party to sit on their toes,
but
or to be on their toes.
Yeah, if you go through the dailies, you find out that even now this has gone beyond party, and a lot of Nigerians who are apolitical are shouting hours that the country is not doing very well. We've also seen some people that are sympathetic to the APC also coming out to say this administration has not really done well and all of that. But let's not dwell on all of that. The National Assembly, I was kind of concerned. I don't know. The National Assembly was supposed to resume legislative activities this week, but there are feelers that because of this APC registration, it has to be shelved and all of that. So many days of legislative activities being lost on the basis of party. Is Nigerians the better for this? I mean, there are a lot of things, a lot of work to be done, if you ask me. And then can't this thing go along side by side with party registration?
It is because those who are representing us at the National Assembly, they agreed together. If they have agreed, because you see, the National Assembly is not made up of only APC.
But they have the majority.
Even if
about the A's and the nays.
But you know, even if they have the majority, you always tender something to the floor of the House.
And when the A's always have it?
Not necessarily that when the A's always have it. It is when it is resoluted as a motion and adopted as a resolution. So then everybody will take it and say, okay, this is what is going to happen. Because if it is today for the APC, tomorrow it could be that PDP wants to go for their own registration and whatever. The APC will have to consider them. So at that their level, they don't play partisan politics. They play interest.
You know, someone just, we were discussing it in the car when I was coming, and someone was like, these people are always looking for an opportunity to abscond from duty. I mean, it's because their salaries are paid, whether they sit or they don't.
But right now, I think the period of this exercise won't be much. But however, no matter how wrong people could see it, it is the parties that brought them at the National Assembly that will still be leading us at our various states. There are states where PDP are leading. There are states where ABGA are leading. There are states where APC are leading. So you can see that all the states collectively are represented at the National Assembly, and we want them to go into the issue of this insecurity on ground as quick as possible. But while they are still on recession, we ask the FG, the executive, to take charge of the runnings effectively to ensure that the insecurity crisis, just the way they have stepped into it, is squared amicably and quickly.
All right. Before we go to the newspapers, I also want to, there's an issue I picked up from the diaspora, especially America, our good old America. They are under Trump right now. And the news I got this morning, that the legislators, they are trying to take steps to ensure that in their security forces, white supremacists, people that have racist tendencies are kicked out or removed. This is why, because they said that from findings, the people that took part in the crisis at the Capitol on January 6th, 20% or about 20% of them are once military men or have had service, some form of military
experience,
exactly, some ex-military servicemen and all of that. And they are being looked at. They are supremacists, they are racist, and all of that. They have those tendencies, and so their legislators are trying to move to ensure that such people, whether serving or not in service, especially those serving, that they are kicked out of removed out of the military. Now I'm looking at Nigeria, I'm looking at our military, I'm looking at so much of insecurity,
so much
I'm looking at
infiltrations
and all of that. Should we not be towing this line?
Well,
because in our own climb, we might not really be talking about race and all of that, but there are so many tendencies. There are religious, there are some other, even regional as well, that undertones to.
While it is very, very good and necessary for us to toe that line, it is also good for us to note that we are almost or continually nursing our democracy, and we are very religious in this part of the world. Apart from being religious, we are also very, very undemocratic, because sometimes we affiliate democratic exhibitions to partisan politics and affiliations. You understand? And apart from that, we are also too regional minded, too tribalistic. What we have accepted to be today as democracy, we have not really bought into the idea of ensuring that we follow its tenets to the letter as it is. So it is a process, and since 1999 we have not had military interjection via coup or whatever. So we believe that in the nearest future, as time goes on, we'll move with the speed of light, the way the American people haven't spent over 230 years in their own democratic practices. So we too will get to that level where we will not see the color of our skins as anything, or
the language
our religions,
you speak,
the tribe you
the
are,
church, your religion.
You understand, where you worship, your faith, and so on. Even at that, you see, they are taking that step at their Congress, because America, which has been practicing real democracy, a president came and introduced these various antics and division into it, sentiment, mediocrity, and what have you, into the American democracy. And of course, you cannot deny the fact that people infiltrate security architecture, yes, but the Constitution and the practice, the will of a governor, the will of a chairman, the will of a councillor, the will of a president could stop you from exhibiting that trait, that negative trait that you have. And that is what has kept them. Exactly. If you notice, they have been either ex-service or ex-service personnel, or they are even serving personnel. Exactly. But before now, have they come out with this kind of bigotries? No. You understand? So no, it depends on the leadership.
Yes, and also, apart from the leadership, a pointer to the fact that they have strong institutions.
They have strong
that
institutions.
are stronger and bigger than individuals.
Yeah, so when they got loophole, they capitalize on it, because the leader seems to be inciting the crisis.
But the institutions are checkmating them right now.
Right now.
I was like, how are they going to be able to do this? And I found out that they have strong institutions
that
will be able to actually fish out whatever tendencies, wherever they
over there. They term them as public servants and civil servants. And once you are a public servant and you are a civil servant, you don't have a right of just the privacy that you think you are looking for. So that privacy is gone. So everything they do, all their meetings are before the media, before scrutiny, before the public. Unlike here, where sometimes we want closed doors.
Yeah, and people actually have a say. The people have a say.
When you say the fourth estate of the realm, what does that mean? It is a realm that checkmates. It is a realm that also sets agenda. I'm talking about the media now. After the executive, the judiciary, the legislative, the judiciary, you have the press. So
it's looked at as the voice of the people.
That is for the masses.
Exactly.
You set agenda for the government. You also take agenda to the policy to the people, to the masses, and then every public gathering, public affairs, anything, the press must be there. Is allowed, even if it means in the Oval Room. You understand? So they must be there to checkmate, check and balance, and also call for accountability. But over here, our public leaders want to shy away from media, especially when matters of national interest comes. They shy away from media. And they only come out when it is matter of insecurity.
Even at that, they do
even the matter of insecurity, you see some politicians still running away. Even elected legislators or elected politicians are appointed, you call them for questioning. They will run away because they are afraid of their godfathers, their masters, their sponsors.
They are not truly independent.
They don't have the the independency, they don't also have the political will to exercise their freedom of speech, their freedom of thought.
So that means now we should endeavor to ensure, and we should ensure that there is a system, or there's an institution that checkmates all of this.
Yeah, we the youth are coming up. We are actually coming up, the youth, the media, we are coming up with serious sensitization and integration, mobilization as well against 2023, so that we will set the record straight. And I advise all political parties, the youth in various political parties, to form aegis, to form the structures whereby you can become a voice.
Yeah.
In 2023, we cannot continue to leave it for the elite, the elders, because so far that they have led us, we discovered that yes, they tried, but there are areas they should have done better.
All right.
And we think we can do better.
Yes, and we're commending the youths of some other movements that are coming up to ensure that 2023 will begin to get it right.
Yes.
That's not removing the fact that we need strong institutions to make sure that whatever these groups are coming
Honestly,
up with,
I tell you, we have
really
strong institutions.
Okay.
It's just like when you go to the police station, you don't know your right, the policeman will abuse you. If you know your right, the policeman will...
But that's not to be. That's an institution that's supposed to know and uphold the rights.
Oh, yes, uphold the rights.
If there's no confidence in that institution, so, I mean, the aim is already...
No, it's an abuse. Like I told you, people who are power drunk and people who have this mentality of some affiliations affiliated to certain godfathers or certain
structures,
awkward structures now. They want to always make sure that they abuse people's right. But when you know your right, how come the big men accused of money laundering, accused of theft, accused of embezzlement, corruption here and there, how come do they go scot-free?
That's what we're talking about, is strong institutions. All right, we only hope that it gets better. And as we head towards 2023, we'll plead that we should have all the necessary institutions that will ensure that our election comes out free, fair, and the results very, very credible. We'll take a break now, and when we come back, we'll now go straight to the dailies to find out what they are printing. Join us again. Thanks for joining us again. This is Press Talk, and now we are heading to the newspapers to find out what they are printing on the front pages of the newspapers. And we are starting with the Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune is the first paper we are starting with this morning, and it has a very bold headline there. We've been forced to pay about 50 million naira ransom. That's a Baraba community cries out. We've been forced to pay 50 million naira ransom. And there are so many riders on that story. As Fulani heads ask for forgiveness, assure of peaceful coexistence. You can go to page 4 of the Tribune to find out what the paper is talking about. This also, we have a rider there. We are tired of antics of Seriki Fulani, a Gongon leaders say. Go to page 4 of that Tribune to find out details of that. And directly besides the picture story there, you have hunters rescue 19 victims, arrest 6 indigenes in Kogi State. The details you can get on page 25. Below that, we have auto crash. Government's delegation stopped from entering Akumba. What is he talking about there? Find details of that on page 30 of the Tribune newspaper, and below the picture story, uproar over headsmen. Convene meetings of Nigerian leaders to solve crisis now, Saraki tells Buhari. You can get the details of what the former Senate president is talking about on page 2 and 3 of the Tribune. And above the masthead, you have a panic hits Nigeria's aviation as travelers dies of COVID-19 in Canada. Panic hits Nigeria's aviation as traveler dies of COVID-19 in Canada. With the rider, key players predict discrimination against Nigerian travelers. Well, you can get details of that on page 29 of that paper. And also, besides that, we have 7-day ultimatum, Southwest Group Mieti Allah to meet in Akure. Where in Akure and what are the details? Find out on page 4.
Southwest governors.
Yes.
Mieti Allah to meet in Akure.
In Akure, yeah, to talk about this insecurity.
Yeah, we also saw where the Mieti Allah Katakure Secretary General also issued apologetic statement on behalf of the Fulani in the area that they are sorry over the crisis and they want to be in peace. But in another rider from the Nigerian News Online that I read is that the Secretary General of the Mieti Allah also was asking for restructuring, that the president should restructure the country and let them go away. Is restructuring about separation?
Okay.
Yes, by 2 o'clock we will be dealing with that issue and another issue that made the headlines on Saturday. So
that means people are reading restructuring differently.
Yeah, some of these conceptualists are having that thought that restructuring is about separation.
Separating Nigeria.
The Miati Allah have come out to say, just restructure Nigeria and let's go our way so that everybody can go their own ways. Is that your understanding about restructuring? We'll have to deal with that today on Spectacle.
Wow. But the over the weekend there were was it on Friday or thereabout? There were so many news about the order, quit notice given to Fulanis and then we also saw that the IGP ordered the arrest of one Ibohu or whatever. That man has been trending and all of that. So I saw also that he visited the commissioner of police.
The people might not know now why it is good to stand for emancipation of your people. We tend to forget that the legal framework that binds us together as an entity and a sovereignty as one Nigeria still exists. And that framework, it is why people are calling for restructuring, amendment of the Constitution. Now, people cannot just rise up and cause problem or incite problem since this Constitution still remains. I think the best way to push, just like I would say and any sane person would say, is to hold your representative accountable at the National Assembly, your representative at the National, push them.
Well,
right
when
now.
they can be reached and when they can be pushed.
Yes, right now.
If you can't reach
if they can't be reached, you stage a press conference against them and issue statement threatening them.
But you know that they have a protective, there's always a protective ring around these people. Even if at your local government level or whatever, you call for press conference or even call for this recall, when it gets to where it has to get, you find out that all those things turns to dust.
No, sometimes you see, because the politician will always aspire in the future. That notion or that conception that people perceived is false conception. The politician will always want to be seen as a good person before the masses.
That's during the election.
Even after the election. So the politicians always want to aspire more from one level of political office to the next. So because of that ambition that the politicians have, it is always easy to check and balance the normal politician. But when they have come to an institution like the National Assembly, like the legislative arm now, the bureaucracy of partisanship steps in, and you begin to see laxities in their functions and the delivering of their responsibilities. But notwithstanding, if we want restructuring, we must not do that by inciting crisis. Like I said, we have a constitution, and right now my joy is that there is an ongoing amendment of the 1999 Constitution at the National Assembly. Not many people are aware of this.
But see, when some people will say, and I also would tend to even buy into that argument sometimes, that if you like, amend the Constitution 1,000 times, and you have an executive at all levels that don't give a damn about whatever that Constitution says, because once they get to power, they are above and every...
That is where activists, lawyers, even the masses can come out and challenge authority. Why is Fala not doing those things?
They've been doing that.
Because the Constitution right now empowers what is outplaying to play out.
There are so many Constitution breaches.
No, not breaches. You see,
even disregard.
The Mieti Allah, for instance, now will tell you that in the Constitution,
they have the right.
They have the right to do business anywhere in the country,
but not to destroy other people's properties.
But not to destroy other people's properties. You understand? And the Yoruba man, the Igbo man too, will tell you has the Constitution to be anywhere and do business in the country. Now, the clause or the cruise of the matter is the destruction of lives and properties.
Yeah.
You overstep your jurisdiction, though you have the freedom of association, freedom of to stay anywhere in the country as a citizen, freedom of anything, but you do not have the freedom to outbound the freedom of other people. Your business is not supposed to take another person's lives.
And when
your business is also not supposed to destroy people's properties.
Okay, so now we have a situation of
and if you claim to be a citizen,
two wrongs trying to make it right here.
If you claim to be a citizen, can you produce your citizen's identification?
That's another.
You understand? So there are two edges to this particular sword. So that is why people are saying, if the Constitution have some loophole, take advantage. If I am Sunday Goho now, I will mobilize against my own representatives to begin to push for that law, for the quick amendment of that Constitution. Or yes, of the 1999 Constitution. Don't forget that same Constitution was adjudged to be just 47 men constitution. Instituted by General Abdul Salam Abubakar when he came to prepare the interim government that enthroned democracy in 1999. We learned that only 7 men were civilians and national stakeholders, but 40 of them are military. They are military men, and therefore it looks like a military fiat still. Even the entire Constitution of 1979, even 1966, are military fiat constitution. So the essence of the amendment is what is termed as restructuring today. But it is not the division of the country per se.
Yeah, but you so far, you can also ask questions why 20 years or 21 years of democracy, this so-called military constitution has endured. Why?
It is because
now you have an opportunity. You talk, like, for instance, you can always lay examples to America. Biden came, immediately he already started to discard some things that the former administrations did. So why, when we had a democracy, why didn't we jettison a military constitution? I will still have it, and we are still crying, and we are using it.
Because the military metamorphosed
into
democratic.
So we are still where we are. Just
so
like moving around in a second.
You have the military metamorphosed. They have not actually left power. Okay. Remember the statement of former President Ibrahim Badamos Babangida. Step aside. So they did not leave. Okay. They step aside and then
just changed their clothes.
They changed their clothes and began to rule the country in another way.
All
so
right.
until we have a civil, that is why people are saying restructuring. Is these things that they are clamoring to pursue so that it will come to be, the constitution will be like the masses
a people's constitution. All right.
Jonathan would have done it when he called for the National Constitutional Conference. And like I said, bureaucracy of these military powers that
because they never left, they are still there.
They were aside watching Jonathan and so on. So perhaps they cautioned him, and he made nothing out of that constitutional conference.
So we can rightly say now we are still under the stronghold of the military.
Whether you like it or not. But don't forget, civilians also, as the military will always call them bloody civilians, they are actually bloody civilians in their mentalities.
So we need.
Do you know that
we need to restructure the civilians?
Sovereignty of the nation is actually built and protected progressively by the military.
Oh, really?
Really? Find out any nation.
Well, not a democratic.
Democracy is just like invention. From the onset of history, you discover that dictators here and there, they were from the background of the military architecture and institution.
And you find out that they even had a way of coexisting, like in the Roman Empire time, you have a senate, and then you have a whatever do they have? When you had the Julius Caesar, he was a military ruler.
The emperor.
Emperors.
You understand?
You understand? It's more about military might. But there was a senate that also checkmates for the military. Then they came to, they were able to move and conquer and do a lot of things.
Even Rome at that time was having this kind of crisis. Crisis of insecurity, inter and intra security issues. The whole Rome, not only Rome, from the era of the first empire, that is the empire of the Iraqi, what they call them then, Babylon. The Babylonian Empire, the Medes and Persia Empire, which is, of course, the Greek and the Iran Empire, which is Medes and Persia. Then there came the Roman Empire. Then after the Roman Empire, then the British Empire, like that. You can go on till we have democratic empire under the leadership of the United States of America today.
I will soon have a Nigerian empire.
No. Of course you have. So these things have been on ground that the military have a way of governing any nation.
Whether actively or indirectly.
It is only in the United States of America that they have truly stepped aside, and that was because of their own civil war too. They fought a civil war
and they learned so many lessons.
They learned so many lessons from their problems. But we never learned lessons from our civil war. People are even still agitating for another war. Look at IPOB, look at Boko Haram, look at this, look at that. People are looking for how we can go into war. And let me tell you, like Igoho, who is calling for threatening against constitutional right of the Fulanis, and the Fulanis who are also threatening the constitutional right of people who want to exist in their land in peace. Like a statement that the Mietiala made on Saturday was very, very annoying. Making a statement like saying that the country belongs to you. The country does not belong to only you. It belongs to Nigerians. And they should not be acting as if they are the ones that planted or voted Mr. President to become president. We all voted Mr. President for his integrity that has been on record. And they should not come and spoil that integrity built over time by trying to usurp his seat as one of their kingsmen and say that they are the ones that can do and undo in any part of the country. No. If we know that we have a constitution, you have to oblige to the tenet of that constitution. When I obey the law, you obey the law, then we have peace. You cannot disobey the law and ask me not to disobey the law. I'll disobey the law at my expense. We must learn to coexist.
That's the bottom line. So let's move now to the Sun newspaper. That's the next paper we'll have on queue, the Daily Sun newspaper, and it has a bold headline there saying OPC IPOB Masob reply Mieti Allah. OPC IPOB
you can see the problem.
Reply Mieti Allah. And the writer there says, back Akeredolu Iboho. Ondo quit notice Oyo attack worrisome. That's the AYCF. And then please government delegation visit Oyo community to broker peace. Okay, that's on the bold headline there on the Daily Sun. Besides the masthead here, you have FG denies paying 100 billion naira to Mieti Allah to stop kidnapping. Okay, go to Daily Sun newspaper and get details of that. We'll have a picture story there. And besides the picture story, APC has failed Nigerians, ex-minister Dalong. APC has failed Nigerians, an ex-minister under the APC government saying this. Find out why and what are the details of how APC have failed Nigeria. Get to the Daily Sun to find out details. Now, pirates abduct 15 on Nigeria Cape Town bound vessel. Okay, get details there. Below the picture story, you have bloody weekend as Enugu Ebonyi communities boil. What is making them boil? Who is setting fire? Writer there says, cause killed, 35 houses razed. Umahi imposes curfew. Go to page 5 of the Daily Sun. COVID-19, Buhari tax ECOWAS on indigenous development of vaccines. Now here we have it again. COVID-19 vaccines. Go to page 7 to talk about the possibilities of indigenous vaccines. And then in a black strip under that, you have gunmen kill socialite in Ibadan hotel. Well, the sad story is on page 5 of the Daily Sun newspaper. So we still have papers printing about the Mieti Allah. And then
well, I think because of this OPC, IPOB, Masob replying Mieti Allah, perhaps the reason why the Mieti Allah president, Secretary General, issued that statement of let's go ahead and restructure the country, let's go our way. You see, when you are not ready to be peaceful, you tend to be arrogant. There are certain statements that Mieti Allah have been issuing from time past. We know that, yes, we are all Nigerians, but you don't issue certain statement that is unbecoming of a noble association that is doing business in the country. You are a businessman, you are a business group, like the Igbos are business people in the whole of this Africa and the whole world we know. If you are doing business, you too, you have to do your business within the jurisdiction of peace and coexistence. You will not begin to issue threat that you do this, you do that, or you are... Look.
But don't you think that is more of like a survival instinct? Because the Mieti Allah now, they are looking at themselves that Fulanis are now an endangered species.
It is myopism to the fact that not... How will I even put this kind of attitude?
Because right now they are seen as a target group. There are good Fulanis everywhere that are doing business. There are
good, perfect Fulanis, even in my community.
But as it is now,
we eat together, we play together, we do meetings together, we do business together, and they have been peaceful over years.
So now it appears they have being threatened.
If you like, say the imported Fulanis are the ones coming to create problem for Mieti Allah, then Mieti Allah the onus should be on them to also identify and hand over these people to the law enforcement agents so that the law will have its course on them as a deterrent for others not to partake in this kind of criminal activities.
I read something over
Should Nigeria now scatter because of Mietiala or headers?
I read there was something I read.
Movement of heads. Is Buhari himself that is Saraki not a Fulani man?
I want to say,
is Buhari not a Fulani man?
There was
there is a lot of them. They have their ranches. They have their ranches. They follow the law. So why can't they follow the law for peace to reign? And Masop, whatever Masop, IPOB, OPC, they should see. You cannot engage force with force. It will create chaos.
The whole thing is already chaotic because
it's
telling on Nigerians right now.
We cannot afford another civil war in this country. My brother, even common street war, if you experience it, you will understand that you want peace. You will prefer peace. Not to talk of blown war where you will be hearing gunshot, artilleries, jet flying over you, scattering your properties, killing people. You understand? So it is better for us to embrace dialogue of any kind. And it is also better for us to sensitize our people that modern innovations like ranching should be practiced. It is not a crime.
No, it's not about our people. It's about the Fulanese. They have refused to listen to ranching,
and that is why
you force them.
That is why
they don't want to.
You can force them. The government can force. It is the duty of the government to protect lives and properties. So the government, like I said, must provide ranches across states, so that there will be peace.
Which is what government tried to do with the Ruga settlement, and everybody's crying and screaming.
Everybody cannot just cry and scream. See, let me tell us, nobody can come and take your land. If you say the land, this Nigeria belongs to all of us, I get me. You cannot, because you are doing business, take your land, take my land.
Nobody says states should map out. States have the right to map out areas for these people to do their business. So, and it's across the federation, and people kicked against it
because they fail to understand that is a peaceful resolution in a way, because these people seems not to be highly intellectual to understand how nation is run or how business is done. And this era of ancient heading of cattle across street, across the bush, the era has passed.
And the states where these Fulanese are domiciled, why haven't they done proactively enough to ensure a change of orientation, a change of adoption of new cultures and new ways of doing things better?
I think they are.
And over time, it has sustained, and we still have Fulanis that are nomadic in nature. It has not changed. Sedenting the Fulanis has become an issue.
There are factors to that. One, like I said, the intellectual capacity and inclination. Two, political issues where people play politics, because most big men are even the owners of what? These cows. If you know you cannot control your business, why can't you do the business and get to a limit where you can control? If you have too much cow, because all of them that you see, so from the president to the senators that you see at the National Assembly, even to the judiciary, the judges, most of them, they are owners of these cows. Exactly. The chairman, the governors, they are owners of these cows. It is not only because they have empowered these people, this group, to giving them this work to do, to head across the street, to head across people's farmland. That is why you are hearing and you are seeing certain gods like this. If not, what is there to make a law and control this thing? Set it out. Once it will bring peace, you can defer whatever the people are talking about, whether they want the Ruga or not. Once you know that the Ruga will bring peace, enact it. It must not be called Ruga, ranching. You understand? Ranchi.
But Ruga is it not a word? It has meaning. Is it not like a settlement or something?
Well, it's rural grazing, whatever that the government had
Okay, I
before.
thought it was an Hausa word.
No, it is not Hausa word. It's rural grazing.
But we have Ruga all over, even in Abuja. They call wherever you have seen Fulanis, they call that place Ruga. So
Well,
I was thinking maybe it's the word is another word.
They may have their name, but all I know is that is an acronym for rural agricultural grazing, especially those who graze livestock. You understand? Because livestock is part of farming too.
Yeah, and it's a very essential part.
Very essential part of farming. So why must we localize it and make it look like a primitive way of farming?
All right.
It is not.
Okay, we'll move on now. The next paper we'll have to look at is This Day newspaper, and I'm sure they will also be running with so many, almost the same headlines all over the place. We have more states trigger red alert, prepare to ward off renegade headsmen. And we have riders on presidency's behest, Southwest governors to meet Mieti Allah today. And then Oyo government delegation CP tour trouble sports. Saraki sues for peace. So go to This Day newspaper to get details of that. And I think there's almost we have besides the picture story there. FG, we won't allow COVID-19 vaccines. Okay, we won't allow COVID-19 vaccines hijack. Why are they talking about a hijack? Find out about the details on This Day newspaper. And just on top of the masthead there, on an in-strip, Senate probes alleged mismanagement of 50 billion naira by NBET. 50 billion naira by NBET. Get details of that on page 8 of This Day. And above that, you have galloping inflation, economic recovery, top agenda as MPC meets with the rider. Analysts predict hold on interest rates. FG to redeem maturing 500 million euro bond. Please do go and pick a copy of This Day newspaper. They have a whole lot they printed. Even on the back.
You can see, Mr. Charles, you can see how more states are grouping for. They are a kind of grouping in against the headers.
But they say renegade headers.
Renegade headers, yes. Whether renegade or non-renegade headers, crisis is looming. I get what I'm saying. Now, if the governors are meeting and a lot of quarters, various youth organizations or socio-cultural organizations are meeting against this crisis, it is because of the perceived thought that they have and the activities so far displayed by these headers. Yeah. I get what I'm saying. Now, in this case, what do we have to know? From the media quarter, people inciting crisis should desist. That's number one. People that misunderstood the constitution that binds us together, who misunderstood it completely, especially the angle of doing business or living in any part of the country as citizens. They should know that citizens are legally bound to live anywhere
and do business. Legitimate business.
Do legitimate business. You understand? And in this respect, if I must live anywhere in this country to do legitimate business, it means I'm obeying the law. Yeah. So the Mietiala group should also recognize that. You cannot go into people's farm with your head and destroy the farm and say you want to pay back. It must not be that you want to pay back. What if I don't want to sell? Because business must be an agreement.
All right.
And we must understand that. So, but people who are calling for war, they should desist.
Yes, no war. We can't afford
the governors, the Igoho, the Southwestern OPC, IPOP, MASOP, they should what? Desist. They should channel their anger to the National Assembly. If possible, they can come physically to the National Assembly
All
if
right.
they can't send memo.
Okay,
And this
we'll
thing
move on
is
now.
a matter of national priority.
And our senators and our reps are still going on holidays.
The presidency is there.
Okay. Now let's move to the next paper and the final one because of time. We'll have the Nation newspaper. It also has a bold headline there. This time it's talking about red alert in Southwest as quit notice to headers expires. And then above that you have 40 billion naira end allowances released to ASU. There's a picture of the labor minister there in Gige. So I think that should be good news for our education sector. And then we have above the masthead, Monarch declares Igboho God sent. With a rider, I can't be intimidated. That is Igboho speaking there. Go to page 9 of the Nation. Death toll in communal clashes hit 40. Rider lawmaker arrested. Find out details on page 5 of that newspaper. Anxiety in markets as CBN holds MPC. They hold MPC today. And below that you have APC targets 60 million members in new drive. I've already spoken about that. And also go to the Nation newspaper and pick up the Nation. They have so much they've printed, even inside and at the back pages. And that's the much time can allow us to take on the newspapers today. Do go out there, grab a copy of the newspaper. Please read, and read. They say a newspaper a day drives away ignorance. You have to read it to be able to tell what is happening. Please read, because you can't just exist, especially in this time that we have a whole lot going on in our society. Information about the COVID-19, the impending vaccines, the headers, the security challenges. Please read to be up to date.
So that these people cannot make the government look stupid. The government have tried in several ways. Trying,
and it's now our turn as citizens to complement the efforts of governance. Remember, peace is priceless, terror is senseless. Always try to be on the path for peace. That's the much you have on this episode of Press Talk. Join us again tomorrow on this platform, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on all the social media platforms where we are. We have a wonderful lineup of programs for your enjoyment and enlightenment. Thanks for doing this together. I am Charles Ibe and also
Daniel Atai.
All right. Join us again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.